Hi, this is gonna be a daily experience video and I'm gonna talk about Mehr 2024. I've been to Mehr 2020 and it was awesome. And I decided that I should go this year as well. Last year has been extremely busy for me, to be honest. So I was like, I'm not sure I want to travel to Germany and hang out with people and not sleep at all and not have my silent time with Jesus, which I'm crazy about these days. So if I can't spend the mornings with God, I'm out of this program. So I was like, I'm not sure I want to go there, but I want to be there. So yeah. And I was like, maybe I'm gonna just watch it online. And I'm happy that I decided so, because there were so many deep works of God that were happening in me during these shows, during this live stream, that I'm so sure that it was better for me to experience this at home. So, as you probably know, there is a 24/7 live worship happening in Augsburg like for more than a decade. And there is such an atmosphere of worship there. I remember the first time I went there. It's beautiful. It's always done like in a very high quality, fascinating way. Like they make it look way better than an ordinary festival. So everything is top quality. Except for the live stream, it was bad most of the time. But when I was there, everything was awesome. And I was like, I was just sitting there and I was astonished by the lights and the atmosphere of it. And I was super tired. I was not in a spiritual mode. I was just looking at stuff. And I remember there was something in me, like crying out in worship. Like something in the inside of me joined the worship, whether my mind or my emotions wanted to join it or not. So it was like, we have worship here. It's up to you how much you participate, but it is happening here. Like, I don't really like this charismatic theory about which spirituality belongs to which place, and what kind of portals are where and all that. But I think because there is always worship happening there, there is something about the atmosphere that makes worship easy. But the funniest thing about Mehr is that the worship is way deeper than all the other parts of the festival. So they have interesting sermons. They are more like TED Talks. They are very inspiring, but it's like, or interviews, but they are all good and they are all spiritual as well. But like the worship is so much deeper than everything else at Mehr, is that it's almost funny. Like, let's talk about the current affairs of our society, and you got all philosophic about the question. It is delivered excellently and interestingly, and even with a spiritual aspect to it. So it's all fine. But when it's done, the worship set comes and you are on the floor, a crying mess. So it's like, there is a difference in that. It's a bit, there is a contrast there, but it makes it so funny to be there. Um, yeah, so it was an awesome experience to be there in 2020, so I was really looking forward to it this year. And there's so many things I love doing with God, and I really love like opening myself up to God and let Him search my soul and let me work on pains and traumas. And so I really love like opening myself up to God, no matter what is there to be found in my soul. And it's not always a nice process to watch from the outside. I'm just there crying and enjoying that God answers those things in my soul with His truth, with His being, with His love, with who He is, with not just with information, not just with like truth as an information, but He answers it with His truth, which is His person and Himself. So I really love that deep work. It's not a community experience. So if if I spend time with God, with other people, this is not what I would like to do in the first place. But like worshiping together is the best way of spending time with God, with other people. To be honest, the first few days at Mehr, the first 2 days, I was like, yeah, this is nice. This is just as good as I expected it to be. I wasn't really opening myself up to God. I didn't know how I wanted to. I gave these 4 days completely to God. Like I didn't do anything in these days. The best thing about Mehr is the breaks. They have this silent, soft, spontaneous worship in the breaks in case you just want to worship. It's amazing. It's better. The breaks are better than the festival itself. It's like, can I just have a Mehr only breaks? It's just so good. Probably this is what they have at the House of Prayer, this soft acoustic instrumental or spontaneous silent worship. Like probably it's an everyday thing for them. But it's so good that you can have it in the breaks. Many times when I go to conferences and I get overwhelmed with God, I'm so not into the noise of like going to the lounge area or anything. It's like, I just want to stay here forever. And always the volunteers like take me out or leave me out or tell me that it's a break and I'm supposed to leave. And so it's like, many times these conferences are not really set up for an encounter with God, which is funny because they always tell you that, oh, it's all about encountering God, but if you do, they are like, but your time is over, you know. This is how much time you have to encounter God. So it's so good at Mehr is that if you are lost in God, you can stay lost in God. No one's gonna bother you. Yeah, on the third day, there was this joyful dancey worship. And I wasn't that interactive, like watching from my couch, but I started to dance and something broke through. I don't know, I don't have a theory or anything about that, but from that point on, there was an openness in my soul towards God that wasn't there before. And it's so great that if there is a spirit of worship somewhere, even the noisy praise is way deeper. Like in the Hungarian church, we have this thing like, oh yeah, we are free to clap our hands, and this is what praise means. Like, we in the softer worship songs, we have this attention like, oh yeah, we host the praises, but the fast songs are just to warm up. And it's so good that at Mehr there is this depth to the fast songs and fast worship as well. So I really enjoyed it at home. I was dancing through my living room, actually here. Oh, it's so good. And when I worship at home, it's not very spectacular. I love being silent, and I don't even move anything about myself. And I love the way I listen to worship, and it kind of reminds me that this is all about God. I should open myself up to Him. It's more like a centering prayer thing, like, oh, it's still about Him. It's still about that. It's like a constant reminder. Someone is worshiping in your ear. You're constantly reminded of God. But there's a point when this reminder just becomes a white noise somewhere in the back, and I'm lost in God. I finally become who I actually am, this expression of God on the earth that I was created to be. And I don't need thoughts or emotions or words. So worship is being who you actually are, and it can be expressed in music and words. But after a while, you might even leave the expressions of it behind, and you just are it. It's like a rope bridge across this illusionary gap between you and God. This is not existent, but it exists in our head most of the time. And you cling to that rope of worship, you cross this chasm, and when you are on the other side, you can stick to the rope if you really like it. You can repeat that sentence over and over again if you have joy in it, or if you feel like there is a meaning to it. But you can actually let go of that rope and enjoy that you are there. So this is what was happening to me quite a lot of times while worshipping with Mehr at home. It's so good that we have this 2-week extra time watching the live streams. Every night I re-watch some of the worship sets. Yesterday I felt like God just, I don't know which part of God, I don't have a theology about it, but something of God takes over my body. Call it Holy Spirit. Takes over my body, and now I don't really like falling over. When I feel overwhelmed, I lay myself down. And it was funny because I couldn't move. And I always tell people like, oh, God is gonna respect your choice if He will only overwhelm you if you want it. But there was a point when I wanted to move my limbs and I couldn't. And at the same time, I really knew that if I really wanted to redo this whole thing, I could choose to come out of this state, but I don't want to and I can't at the same time. And I was really cold after a while, so I decided to climb up my chair. As soon as I sat down on my chair, I became numb. again everything about me. And it's not a health condition, don't worry about me. It's a spiritual thing. In some way, I can resist it. I think I could if I wanted. But I think I said so many yeses to God about my whole being before that now He feels comfortable making me motionless for a while. And it's not like it makes me closer to God. I am close to God as much as anyone can be because of Jesus. But there is something about this shocking experience that forces you to realize that reality. This is not the thing that makes the closeness and the presence of God happen. This is something that makes you realize the ever-present presence of God. So it's more like a tangible reminder than a way to get there. So it makes you aware of something that has always been there. It does not make something happen that hasn't been there. And you don't need to have weird things happening to you, like what I told you, like I became motionless for a while. Because God has many ways to shock you with Himself, but it was great yesterday to be that overwhelmed. And I love when my heart gets overwhelmed. I love when I forget about everything. I love when my whole being becomes worship. And I love when my emotions worship and my mind worships, and everyone experiences something different, but actually we are part of the same voice around the throne singing. Yeah, that was awesome. I'm so happy. It really helped to get me back to that attitude towards God, this openness towards God. Like I live like a nun, spending all my time with God, and it really made me aware that, oh yeah, this is the only thing I want. Oh, this is my life purpose. I don't want to be lost in any other activities. Yeah. So I'm really thankful for you. If anyone is watching this from Mehr, I really love what you're doing. You're so loved. And probably I'm gonna go there in 2 years. I wish you experienced everything I have experienced these days. And I wish you experience way much more in much greater depth and in a much more personalized way that is tailor-made for you. You are so eternally loved. God bless you.